It's time for Global Insights, where we speak to experts from around the world on issues making headlines. It came as little surprise when North Korea claimed on Saturday that it tested a new type of tactical guided weapon. Something observers say looks similar to its short-range ballistic missiles first tested in 2019. The South Korean military said that it detected the launch of 2 projectiles on Saturday evening, this following a major holiday in the north marking the 100th anniversary of the birth date of regime founder Kim Il-sung. The so-called Day of the Sun had passed without major provocations or a military parade, contrary to what many had expected. But there have been forecasts that there may be further missile tests or even a nuclear test to come around the anniversary of the establishment of the North Army on April 25th. Today, we discuss the latest developments with Soo Kim, policy analyst at Rand Corporation and former CIA analyst, and Won-gon, professor of North Korean studies at Ewha Women University. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll go with ladies first today. So, Soo, very good evening to you in the US. Now the North initially staged a relatively calm celebration of the Day of the Sun on Friday, and then they shot 2 projectiles that the regime claimed was a test of a new type of tactical guided weapon. Now, what do you make of these developments?
So, I mean, we're not completely out of the woods when it comes to North Korea's, missile and nuclear provocations. I think that the Day of the Sun is more reserved to honor and to glorify the founder, Kim Il-sung, especially at a time when North Korea is stretched really thin due to COVID-19 measures and of course, just the country's isolated style. As you said, there were experts who had predicted that perhaps North Korea would be showing, a new display of weapons yesterday. But there's another celebration, which is April 25th, the founding anniversary for the KPA, which might be a better occasion for North Korea to display this new technology. I do think that the test that we saw recently is a prelude to what's to come, which is, of course, a tactical nuclear weapons delivery system. So it's a prelude, and I also think that given the indications that we've seen over the past few months, with the North Koreans ramping up its missile testing, it's only a matter of when, I would say, that we would see a greater display of North Korean military aggressiveness.
And Won-gon, let's compare the North's 110th Day of the Sun with the 100th anniversary 10 years ago, when the North did hold rather large military parades and Chairman Kim Jong-un's first public speech as well. Why do you think this year they kept the event quite low-key, and what did you make of the 2 projectile launches the next evening?
Well, North Korea, they proclaimed that they are going to commemorate this year as the victory of a revolution. Of course, the most important events are Kim Jong-un's 8th birthday on February 16th and Kim Il-sung's 110th birthday. But I think North Korea will celebrate all year long. Yes, I agree with Soo Kim that there is a possibility that they're going to have a big military parade this coming 19th anniversary of the founding of the Revolutionary Army. And there is a possibility that they are going to show their very recent developed missiles, such as KN-23, 24, 25, and some modified versions, hypersonic missiles, long-range cruise missiles, and of course the ICBM Hwasong-17, allegedly, and SLBM. And also, it seems to be this recent projectile they had launched this last Saturday, 16th. I think there are a couple of meanings. First, they are going to back to the so-called routinization of the provocations, and because they did not specify threats. Instead, they are saying that it's just for their self-defense, and they're trying to enhance their deterrence capability. It reminds me that Kim Yo-jong, of course, Kim Jong-un's sister's statement the last year's September, she mentioned about the so-called double standards and tried to justify their illegal nuclear development. And second meaning is they are explicitly showing their intention to develop their tactical nuclear missiles, and no longer North Korea wanted to hide their intention. And Kim Jong-un very clearly mentioned that his intention to develop further about this tactical nuclear weapon, which is a very serious threat to South Korea.
And Won-gon, instead of flashing the list of new weaponry that you mentioned, or launching another missile on the day of the sun itself. Regime leader Kim Jong-un, he attended a completion ceremony of a modern high-rise apartment, and actually one of the homes was gifted to the very famous North Korean news anchor Lee Chun-hee. Now, what do you think was the purpose of this rather odd PR move? That's to you, Won-gon.
All right. Yes, of course, Korea is trying to support.
Sorry, we seem to be experiencing a little audio trouble. Let's go back to you. Let's get back to you, Won-gon, in a bit. And Soo, well, a question to you. This year's Day of the Sun, it did pass rather quietly, but then, of course, as you both mentioned, there are predictions that things might be a little different around the 25th, which is the founding day of the People's Army, and there might be some armed provocations then. So what are you expecting to see from this upcoming event?
So if we didn't see what we expected to see, on the 15th, and we're waiting until the 25th to see it, we're talking about, again, a display of advanced technology that indicates that the North Korean military has shown and followed through in its determination to improve to advance its weapons capabilities, including, of course, the tactical nuclear weapons. We also have to keep in mind that this is, after, in just a few weeks, we will be seeing a new South Korean leadership. So North Korea would also want to keep that in mind, and also keep in mind what President-elect Ewha said about the policy towards North Korea, enhancing and strengthening the alliance, and where South Korea is actually going to be positioned vis-a-vis inter-Korean relations. So there are several atmospherics, I would say, that North Korea would keep in mind. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's going to be, the decisions are not contingent upon these, but it follows through with what Kim Jong-un had been planning for years. But I think that this might be an opportune time for Kim Jong-un to, since the North Koreans have essentially taken steps to, abolish the moratorium that it had placed, I think it's just, we have to see how much and how aggressive Kim Jong-un wants to take this, because he's also probably looking to see how the incoming government is going to respond to this.
And now, Won-gon, let's get back to you. I think we've got our audio back. And, well, it's back to the question about the rather strange PR move concerning the North Korean news anchor Lee Chun-hee. So instead of staging a huge military parade or some kind of provocation on the day of the sun, Won-gon, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un actually went to the completion ceremony of a high-rise apartment, upon which he gifted a luxurious home to the North Korean news anchor. What did you make of this move? What do you think it really, what was the intention of holding that event?
Well, I think Kim Jong-un is definitely wanted to consolidate his domestic support, especially among his core followers. And we are seeing that North Korea withdrew this moratorium of the ICBM and nuclear test by launching Hwasong 17 in March 24th. And definitely North Korea is trying to already get started to a very serious confrontation against South Korea and United States. And for that purpose, definitely Kim Jong-un needs to back up his very aggressive policy domestically. So I think they are seeing some kind of two measures recently. You just mentioned they give some material incentive to civilians, and also Kim Jong-un has promoted some military generals. And we are seeing that North Korea faced so-called triple distress and economic sanction, COVID-19, and natural disaster. And definitely, Kim Jong-un need to consolidate his power for the upcoming more serious confrontation with South Korea and United States.
And Soo, you both mentioned this, but, well, as South Korea and the US look set to deepen their security alliance, do you think there is a danger that North Korea is getting ready to scale up its provocations, particularly with the incoming government in the South?
So, I mean, North Korea has, I would say, it's never given up the intent to basically proliferate and to expand its capabilities. But recent indications, of course, with Kim Young-jang saying that North Korea is actually opposed to war, but would not hesitate to use its nuclear weapons if provoked or if attacked. We're also seeing activity at Punggye-ri, where we're seeing indications that they might be trying to resume the operations of the facilities. So these are, I would say, these tactical changes that confirm and I guess in some ways sort of assure us that our assumptions might be correct. So I think the signs are there, but again, Kim Jong-un knows that the Yoon administration is not going to be it's not going to be similar to the responses that it's seen from the Moon Jae-in administration. So he wants to, of course, I think, take a tough approach. But given the conditions of North Korea, the domestic situation, as well as just not knowing how firmly and how committed the Yoon administration is actually going to be, from its rhetoric to its actions, I think Kim Jong-un is also going to want to see how much he can get away with and what kind of response he's going to see from South Korea, but also from the United States as well, because I think that would also test the resolve of the alliance and how much further he could drive a wedge between the two countries under the new administration.
And now, Won-gon, US President Joe Biden is expected to visit Japan at the end of the end of next month to attend the Quad Summit. And this raises the possibility that the South Korea-US summit could be held then as well. Now, how do you see the chances of this happening?
I think there is a very high chance to happen to meet both South Korea and United States president and have a summit. Because we have experienced that, just 5 hours to see the result of the presidential election here in Korea, the President Biden called the president-elect, the Yoon Suk-yeol. And it represents that U.S. has a kind of wanted to have a far better and even a strengthened relationship with South Korea, because, of course, South Korea is one of the most important allies for the U.S., especially for United States. Definitely they need South Korea's very strong cooperation to balance against China. So unlike the incumbent Moon Jae-in government, the upcoming Yoon Suk-yeol government already showed their intention, a very clear intention to enhance South Korea and United States alliance. And we were seeing that the Yoon Suk-yeol president-elect Yoon Suk-yeol sent a special envoy group to the United States. But overall, South Korea should be more careful. Yes, I definitely agree to enhance this relationship with the United States, but at the same time, South Korea has a little bit different priority. I just mentioned that the United States wanted to have a top priority to balance against China, but for the South Korea, the most urgent mission is to deter the North Korean aggression and denuclearization of North Korea. So, of course, South Korea is not that easy to have a full side with the United States because of their various reasons. So I think it's not that easy to have just simply strengthen the relationship with the state.
I see. And Soo, how do you see the alliance between Seoul and Washington evolving under incoming President Yoon and US President Biden? Do you think their focus will perhaps broaden from North Korea?
So that's, I think, the Yoon administration's aspirations, as indicated through some of the writings that we've seen from President-elect Yoon, as well as the people that he's appointed to his cabinet. But I do think that, it's a new administration. Domestically, he also needs to consider strengthening his mandate vis-a-vis the South Korean public, but also within his own party. So it will take time for Seoul to actually reach that point where he can actually basically follow through the words with actions. So I think from the perspective of the United States, there needs to be, I think, a bit of a waiting time to give the Yoon administration some opportunity to strengthen the position domestically, so that if South Korea truly wants to step up into the global pivotal role that the administration has mentioned, what needs to happen is the domestic affairs need to be put in order first. After that, of course, he did say that the North Korean threat is going to be it's the biggest enemy for South Korea. However, the fact that the administration is emphasizing expanding beyond the North Korean threat should give some assurance, I think, to the United States. It may take South Korea a bit of time to be as unambiguous about its position vis-a-vis United States and China and its competition, the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But the fact that there's willingness there and this desire to step up into a greater role, I think, is optimistic. And it certainly, I think, bodes well for the two countries.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where we must leave it for today as we're out of time. But thank you to Soo Kim, policy analyst at Rand Corporation and former CIA analyst, and Won-gon, professor of North Korean studies at Ewha University.
Thank you.
Thank you.